I'm a freaking historian. Would love to hear more about Memphis, your program with Bill Dundee, the heel turn, the scaffold match, which we brought up in the last episode briefly, the bullwhip match, and if they were trying to turn Bill in order to get him ready for Lawler, or they were just working, or you and Bill were just working a program.
Well, you'd have to put it in a time frame. And, in Memphis, you'd be a good guy for a while, then they would turn you, and then you'd be a bad guy. And then the people would turn you back usually. But the angle between me and Bill, we started it with, they jumped on Jeff Jarrett. It was Bill Dundee and Buddy Landale. This was my last time I was there. This is about mid 80s, mid 50s. What the hell am I thinking? The mid 80s. And they beat up Jeff, and then they beat up Jerry Jarrett, and he got such sympathy because Jerry Jarrett had an eye problem. He was going blind at the time if he hadn't had surgery. Jeff was just a referee, and so I jumped in to help him, and I did an interview. And Lawler had been suspended; he had lost a loser leave town match, so he'd been gone about 3 weeks. And, Lawler built it all around himself, basically. So when Lawler wasn't on the card in something hot, he was going to take time to get the other things warmed up, even though we had worked angles before Lawler left, but never to the degree that Lawler would work his angle. He'd have the Funks, or he'd have Bockwinkel, or he'd have Austin Idol, or he'd be into something hot. So I went to take up for Jeff on TV one day, and they said, yeah, get any partner I wanted, and they would just destroy us. And so I said, well, and I went out and we brought a phone out. I said, I got one guy I can call. He's the only guy I know can withstand these guys with me. And I said, Jerry Lawler. And when I said Lawler, the place popped, because they knew he was suspended and he'd lost a loser leave town match. And I called him up, and then Lawler said, yeah, I'm watching the show now. And he said, yeah, I'll come down. I'll be your partner Monday night. And Dundee, this, that, and the other, and Landale. And we started, sold out. And just off that one little angle, because I think Dundee and Landale had a little bit of heat, unbeknownst to, heat used to be something you draw money with. WWE, they don't know heat now. Actually, AEW, they don't know heat. It's just a totally different concept in today's wrestling world. And I remember we did a deal at the end of it, and I forgot what happened, but we had a Texas death match. That went 26 falls. And we actually set a record for the number of falls in a match. And it took us an hour, I think, and 10 minutes to do it. And, falls don't have to be long. A fall could be 30 seconds, but you have to wait 30 seconds between the falls to recontinue. And we set a record of 26 falls. It wasn't scheduled to go 26 falls. But the beauty of Memphis is you could kind of change it in the middle of it. So we were only supposed to go like 7 falls, I think. And then 7 falls, like 15 minutes had gone by or something. So I think we got up. One of us got up. I think Landale got up, or Bill got up. And Lana said, that's good. We'll just go some more. So we went 10 falls, then 11. Then 12. I says, then I slid over to Lawler in the corner and went, how long are we going to go in this son of a gun? He says, I don't know. Till we get tired, I guess. You tired? I said, no, because we were having a good time. The fans were eating it up. So then we went 12. Then we went 14, then 16. Now the fans settled in and said, man, this is different. They've never seen a match go this long. Then we did 17, then 18. And when we hit 20, it's almost like the crowd was reinvigorated again. How long are these guys going to go? And we end up going 26 falls and setting a record. I have a tape of it somewhere, and you can actually go on YouTube I think you can see it, but we had a sold out crowd again, and one of the most enjoyable matches I ever had. And I've had people doubt me. They said, no, they had a match there one time and went 43 falls. I went, bull crap. I said, Memphis didn't have a match with 43 falls. Hell, the guys that Memphis would hire at the time, hell, they couldn't stand up for 43 falls, let alone work 43 falls. But we ended up going 26 falls, me and Jerry Lawler against Bill Dundee and Buddy Landell.
This fella also mentioned a scaffold match, and alluded to it before, that you brought up the scaffold match in the last episode, and you just sort of found yourself up there. You didn't really have any sort of warning beforehand.
Well, it was a match that that had its start in Memphis. It either had its start in Memphis or Amarillo with the Funks. And it sounds like something Terry Funk would do. But I think it's had its start. I think Jerry Jarrett invented that match in Memphis. And why he invented it, I think they were like working in his house one day and he saw a scaffold. And that's how he got the idea. Hey, let's have a scaffold match, put two guys on a scaffold, and the rules are simple. The first guy that falls off or jumps off, or he loses. So they booked me in the scaffold match, which I had no idea that I was going to be in. I showed up at TV Saturday, and they announced a scaffold match. They didn't ask me. They just more or less booked it. And then I was with Dundee, and Dundee said, hey, mate, it's fun. It's fun. I said, it might be fun to you, but I'm afraid of heights, to tell you the truth. I don't like heights. I don't like being up there on the scaffold, especially with somebody like Dundee, who's, when we got on the scaffold, he would jump up and down on it. And I was almost falling off. I mean, for a shoot, I could have fell off that thing. So we did it. Of course, I lost, because I had to come off the scaffold first. And then back in Memphis, the way we would do the match on Monday, and then the tape would be bicycle to the other stations, but the tape would always be 1 week late. So what was the main event in Memphis on a Monday night would be the main event in Louisville a week later, and then Evansville, and then Nashville. So that's how we bicycled. So I had 3 or 4 more, maybe more, scaffold matches that I had to do, which I hated. But we got up there, we did it, and it was obvious I was scared. So, and Cornette, that's how he messed his knee up. He had to come off the scaffold in the Omni on a big show, and he jammed his knee, and it never was right again. So,
without using the wrestler's hyperbole with heights, how high was the scaffold off from the ring?
Oh, from the floor of the ring?
Well, I'm assuming you landed on the ring.
It was probably 12 feet, 14 feet, which is pretty high. When I got on the scaffold in the Mid-South Coliseum, I'm up there and I just look across and I'm looking almost in the top deck. I went, damn. And I don't know about you, but when I look down, I don't see feet. I just see a drop. That's all I see, knowing that I'm going to have to make that journey within the next 10 minutes. It's like saying, here's an electric wire, and here's your hand. Shock yourself. Wait a minute. You know you're going to have to do it. Yeah. But I did it like a good trooper. Now, I did it. I don't know how good the match was. I didn't care, really. You remember last week I was talking about sandbagging?
Yes.
I did a lot of sandbagging in that match. I was hanging on to that scaffold with dear life. And he was beating me up, and I was hanging on to it. And I was legitimately afraid on that scaffold.
Since you said you did about 4 or 5 of these matches, did you work out the best way to land in the ring for minimal damage?
Well, one match I had in Evansville, which didn't have the budget that Memphis had. So they took just 2 ladders, 2 like step ladders, and they just put them across from each other and just hooked the scaffold between them. It was only like 6 feet. Mm-hmm. Hell, I've taken backdrops bigger than that. I was okay with that. But when it gets up above that, where you got to fall a second. That's what bothered me.